So this is my second attempt at doing somewhat of an educational video. This will be about gratitude. That's the subject of this talk today. Gratitude is something that most of you listening to this, and pretty much everyone, is neglecting the most, like not the most, but like neglecting reasonably well. Because you know, when was the last time that you acknowledged that you have eyes, that you can see? Like, can you imagine how happy a blind person would be if, like, after 30 years of blindness, they all of a sudden could see colors for the first time? They could see people for the first time. Do you know how much they would jump up and down in happiness because they can see? Or can you imagine somebody who's been in a wheelchair for the last 20 years, how happy they would be if they had legs like you do and they could walk anywhere they want? You know, these are just a few of the things that you can be very, very grateful for. The fact that you're free, like 70 years ago, our ancestors, like just your fucking grandpa, he probably grew up during the time of the war, like my grandpa did, and he's telling me stories. My parents, they grew up in communist Romania, and they experienced atrocities that we cannot even imagine as, you know, millennials. We live such a, I don't even know what the word is, like, our lives are so incredibly different from everything else that any human in the world has ever experienced. Like, okay, we have education, we have food. We don't just have food. Do you know how much kings 1,000 years ago would have wished that they could have the food that you can get at any fucking fast food restaurant these days for like €5 or whatever? We have food that is so, like, every time I notice it, it's like, I laid in bed a few days ago and I just noticed, oh my God, my bed is so cozy. Oh my God, I'm so great. I have this huge fucking bed, bro. And I have it all to myself because, like, fucking 100 years ago, they used to sleep in one bed. Like 3 people used to sleep in one bed. I have my own fucking room. If you have your own room, you have a luxury, bro. There are people in the world who only have a house of 1 room and they have to fit like 20 people in there. When was the last time that you acknowledged that you have water? Let me just pull up my list of things of what to be grateful for, because I have these things written down on my phone. These are just a few that just came up in my mind. Like, there are so many things that you should be grateful for. And in fact, you should not just like be like, okay, yeah, I'm happy I have that. You should jump up and down in joy because you have this incredible luxury that other people would kill to have. Let me go on over these things. You can walk, you can see, you don't have headaches. Anyone who's ever experienced a serious headache will tell you how much they ruin your life. Do you know there are people with chronic headaches? Do you know how miserable they are? Like, you don't even appreciate that you don't have headaches. You should be happy all the time that you are healthy, that you do not have headaches or any kind of physical problem or any kind of psychological problem. There are so many problems that you could have right now that you don't have. And if you actually knew what it's like to have these problems, if you knew what you could lose, you know, you would see life in a completely different way. You would see life through the eyes of appreciation and gratitude for everything that you have. Because I'm grateful every day, and you should be too. And I understand the following. You only get to appreciate you only appreciate something once you lose it. This is not something anyone can blame you for. This is, in my opinion, just human nature. Whatever we have will be our standard, and we don't know anything different, so we just take it for granted. And so there are some things that generally your brain only understands what it directly sees, what it directly understands through subjective experience. You cannot be grateful for not having, like, say mental problems. That's something that a majority of people, I'm not sure if you could say the majority, but a big part of people cannot relate to. And they just can't fucking relate to it. So they don't know how to be grateful for not having them. So my advice to you would be to do something like be homeless for just a day. Just go fucking sleep on a park bench or at the fucking train station or some disgusting place. Look at how homeless people live. You know, I once did this experiment. I wanted to see, like here in Germany, we have something we call Pfand. That's like when you collect bottles, plastic bottles and stuff like that, soda cans and stuff like that, you can exchange them for money. And I wanted to see if I could make 10 euros in one day by collecting stuff out of the garbage and just, getting the money for it. I actually made it, but that's another story. What I was going to tell you is that I had this situation with this guy. He was getting really mad that I was just going through the garbage can that he was about to go through and basically stealing his whatever soda cans. And this guy was really angry, and you could see on his face like he was fucking crazy. This guy was a hardcore meth or a crack or heroin addict or whatever these guys are doing. And this was his way to make a living. This was his way to afford drugs. You know, if you go to Frankfurt has a huge drug problem. Like, you go to the main train station at Frankfurt, in Frankfurt, you will see fucking homeless people everywhere. You will see fucking drug addicts everywhere. And what this experience taught me, just going through a garbage can, trying to make money that way, and seeing how miserable these people live just so they can get their drugs at the end of the day, that really taught me to appreciate, that I'm not in that situation, because like drug addiction is something that most of us cannot relate to, but that's a real struggle. That is not funny. If you have that shit, oh my God, I wish you all the best. I was going to continue to go over the list that I have. Did I say you're free? Did I mention that you can do whatever the fuck you want? Do you know how many people died for your right to be free, that you can do whatever you want? Do you know 100 years ago, if you told somebody, I want to do whatever I want, they would have laughed at you. They would have laughed at you. That was like unthinkable. There's no way you could do whatever the fuck you want. Like, they would think, who the fuck do you think you are, So that is like one of the most undervalued, underappreciated things that we have, is that we are free. It is, oh my God, it's like, as I'm talking about these things, like, maybe you can't relate to it, but if you were truly grateful, like, you would have my reaction. You would think like, oh my fucking God. And just to say this, I'm an ungrateful cunt. Like, I am grateful as much as I can, but I'm still an ungrateful little shit who does not know how to appreciate what he has. And you are too, and so is everyone else in the world. But you can make an effort to be a bit more appreciative of what you have. You can try to be mindful of the things that you miss in everyday life that you could be really grateful for. When somebody smiles at you, when you can go to a store, do you know how awesome it is that you can go to a store, a fucking supermarket, and like they have this incredibly huge, what's the word? I don't, like, array is not the word, I think, like the selection, that's the word. Selection of anything you can buy. Like, do you know, like, just, it's so hard to put into words what I'm trying to say here. Do you know when you pick up a jar of cookies at the supermarket, those are not just any cookies. Those are cookies made after a recipe that took hundreds of years to perfect. Those are, in a way, one of the best cookies that humanity has to offer. Even if they taste like shit, it took years to make them, and people spent their lives perfecting a cookie recipe just so that one day their cookies could be mass-produced and everyone could enjoy them, which was not their plan, but that's what happened. That's what's happening today. That's just one of the things that you will start to notice when you start to be really grateful for, because once you start practicing gratitude, you will start to see and notice all the little things that you overlooked. Like, I'm walking through this room right now. Like, I'm walking through an office building right now as I'm recording this. What can I don't even know, like, for the sake of not turning this video into a huge ramble, I'm not going to tell you, like, that I'm grateful for this wall, because it took fucking hundreds of years to perfect this kind of building technique to make a wall like this, that I'm grateful for, I don't know. You get the point. And I'm just going to check on my list. Oh, when was the last time that you appreciated that you have normal cognitive abilities? What was the last time that you thought to yourself, man, I'm fucking happy that I'm not disabled, that I'm not mentally retarded for, I know that word is frowned upon, but I really I'm just going to say how it is. You know what I mean when I say mentally retarded? You know these people who have to sit in a wheelchair, who fucking drool all over themselves, who need constant supervision by some fucking, I don't know, you know what I mean? You need to be grateful that you're not like that. And really, as I said, if you knew how to be grateful, you would be jumping up and down in happiness all day, every day. Because there are so many things that you're missing every day that you could be so happy about. Yeah, just, I'm going to leave that statement like that. So, how do you do it? The way you do it is by depriving yourself of these things that you have. Live without a phone for like a week or a month or as long as you possibly can. We are so dependent and addicted to these pieces of magic that, by the way, have also taken they have taken like thousands of years to produce, if you take into account everything, all the mathematics that led up to this piece of perfected magic that you hold in your hand, that you can make fucking 4K photographs with and fucking do pretty much everything you could ever want with. Deprive yourself of these things. Like, be homeless for a while. Try that. Try going like a day without your vision. Close your eyes, put on a fucking eye band or whatever you call it in English around your head, and just be blind for a day. Borrow a fucking wheelchair and go around your life in a wheelchair and see what that's like. I don't know. Have somebody lock you in a room for a day or a week, or I don't want you to do something that's gonna leave you with psychological damage, but you get the point. The only way to appreciate what you have is by losing it, because you have always had it. You don't know how it is to not have these things. And that's why you don't appreciate them, because this is your standard, and anything that's below the standard sucks. And, that's why you don't know how to appreciate things. It's not your fault. It's like, I don't blame you for not being appreciative, but I'm telling you, if you saw all the things that you can appreciate in this life, you cannot even imagine in which ways your life is going to improve. This is what I want to leave you with. Gratitude is one of the 2 key components of happiness. This is actually component number 2. In the next, maybe not in the next video, but in some next video, I will talk about component number 1. And as always, as I said in the last video, if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. I would be very excited to hear if you thought that what I'm talking about is, stupid bullshit, or that you actually fairly enjoyed it. If I can impact the life of one person positively, I would be very happy. I would. You wouldn't even believe. Like, I would really like to help you to live a good life. Yeah, just try what I just told you. Just try it. You will see the results for yourself. In closing, I would like to say that if you don't have gratitude for what you have nothing at all. You could have everything in the world, everything that you think that will make you happy, but if you don't know how to appreciate it, you have nothing at all. But on the other hand, if you know how to appreciate things, you can have basically nothing and be the happiest man in the world, really. That's really my message, is like, appreciate what you have. You don't need new things as much as you think that you need them. You probably, at least if you're listening to this video, if you have access to the internet, you most likely have everything you need to be really, really happy. Like, I'm not against acquiring new assets and things, but you don't need them to be happy. That's all I'm saying. They can definitely make you happier, but you just do not need them to be really, really happy. Okay, so I just listened to the voice recording that you just heard, and there are a few things that I would like to add. First of all, I do understand and acknowledge that you experience struggles in your life that are real to you, and that everyone's struggles are real to them. But what I'm telling you is that if you knew what a real struggle is, if you knew what real problems are, you would laugh at the things that you are going through right now. Probably. Like, I don't want to talk for everyone here, there are definitely people, even in the Western world, that are facing problems that are really, really bad, and I feel sorry for you. But chances are, like, if you are crying about things like that your fucking boyfriend or girlfriend left you, you do not have perspective, because I understand what it's like. I was sad about breakups in the past too. But if you experienced a problem in your life that is worse by, that's just infinitely worse than a breakup, then you would not just not be sad. In fact, you would be grateful for being allowed to experience things like heartache. And you would literally be like me, grateful for being sad, because when I'm sad these days, I'm happy that I'm sad. It's like when you practice gratitude, when you really start to see everything that you have, you start looking at everything through, I guess you could say, through the eyes of joy in a way. And you're grateful when things don't go your way, and when you're allowed to experience things like uncomfortable emotions. Because that's literally how it is with me. When I'm sad, I'm grateful that I'm sad. It's awesome. Do you know how fucking awesome it is to be alive and be sad? Usually people, for example, if you're outside in the winter and it's cold, that's like one of the things people like to complain about most is, oh my God, I'm so fucking cold. If you were actually grateful for being alive, you would be grateful that you're cold. Because I'm like, when I experience being cold, like being fucking freezing cold and just wanting to be warm, I'm grateful for just being uncomfortable. Being allowed to be alive and experience these things, the good and the bad things, because they're both awesome. Just don't see how awesome your problems are because you don't have a perspective on them. You have never experienced real problems, so that's why these problems that you currently face that are so real to you, and I'm not trying to like bash your problems, they are real to you and they are an actual problem, but they're only an actual problem because you don't know what actual problems are. Most likely. Like, obviously, I cannot speak for everyone. Like, there might be somebody listening to this who has a problem that is much worse than anything that I ever experienced. So I might not be the guy to talk about this. But you have to understand, when your life is coming to an end, when you are maybe facing the last days of your life, when you're realizing that you're about to die, all that you are going to wish for, if you have not appreciated what you have enough in your life, all you're going to wish for is that you have another day to live or another year to live. And you would gladly be cold for an entire year if that meant that you could just keep on living. You would gladly be heartbroken for I would be heartbroken for fucking 50 years if that meant that I get another 50 years of life. And I do experience like things like heartbreak are very difficult for many people. It's like I was one of these people. I would get so depressed on these things. I would get so down. I would literally start thinking things like, am I actually going to commit suicide over this? You know, this is like. And when I think back, I was so stupid. Like, I cringe at so many times in my life where I just had no perspective and I was just ungrateful for the things I had. And I'm not saying that I experienced the worst heartbreak ever. I mean, there are probably people out there who had it worse than me. But even those people, I'm telling you that if you told your problems to some fucking starving African kid in like fucking, I don't know what the countries are in Kenya. I don't know if Kenya is probably not the poorest country. But like fucking, you know, these kids who you see on pictures with their fucking ribs showing and everything, who are starving, who want nothing more than to just have food and water for their family. These people, they would trade problems with you in, like, they wouldn't, that would be like such a no-brainer. It would be like, done, decision is made. Like, give me your fucking heartache, give me your fucking, I don't know, your cold or whatever the fuck you complain about. And you get my hunger and you get my struggle. And therefore I can live in the Western world and have everything that you have. They would trade with you in a split second. That would be like not even a decision to make. And that is really what I would like you to realize listening to this. I may not present it in the most professional way that I could. I'm just trying to give you my thoughts, and I'm just trying to, I guess, enlighten you a little bit about this issue. That you are a whiny little bitch, just like I am. I'm too. But it's important that you acknowledge that about yourself, that you realize that you are a bitch, that you realize that you should be grateful, and that you realize that your problems are not actually the problems that you think they are. Your problem is usually not that you don't have your will, that you don't get what you want. That's usually not the problem. Your problem is most of the time going to be that you're just ungrateful. You don't need to be warm when you're cold. You need to appreciate the cold. You don't need to have your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend take you back or anything like that. You need to appreciate what you already have, because you don't need these things that you think you need. I'm taking these two examples, like cold and breakup. Those are just two things that came up in my mind when I just thought about it. There are so many other things that you complain about in day-to-day life that, fuck, bro, you should be so grateful for, because you're living a life that kings, like say 1,000 years ago, could not even have imagined. And let me tell you, you now have the opportunity to realize that you're a whiny bitch. You now have the opportunity to realize that you need to appreciate what you have, because I guarantee you, you will eventually realize that what I'm talking about right now is true. And one day, your life will come to an end, and in your dying hours, if you haven't appreciated what you had all along, your life and everything that came with it, you will wish for nothing more than to just have another year of life. And you will realize that you will realize how much of a fucking moron you were to not appreciate what you have while you had it. If you're still young listening to this, if you're 20 listening to this, or if you're 30 or 40, that's young. That is still young. A person that's 80 years old will tell you, shut the fuck up. You're young. Appreciate the years that you still have. Appreciate that your health is not constantly deteriorating. Appreciate that you have probably still got 30 years of quality life in front of you. And you will eventually realize that this is true, what I'm talking about, that you do not know how to appreciate what you have, and that you're ungrateful. And that you should have, appreciated what you had all along. Because now, no matter how much you would love to just have another year of life, it's too late. And this was it. This was your story. That's it. And no matter how much you wish that you could go back and appreciate life as it is, you will not get that opportunity. So that's why I would like to give you the chance right now to realize that you have this problem. In future videos, I'm probably going to speak more on how exactly to fix this issue, but I already gave you the broad solution. It's to deprive yourself of what you have. Because it's not your fault that you don't know how to appreciate these things. But it would be your fault if you were listening to this right now and you refuse to accept what I'm telling you right now, because this is truth and you will eventually realize it yourself. I don't need to tell you this, you will eventually realize it yourself. And if you don't listen to what I'm telling you right now, you will eventually regret it really badly. If you are lacking gratitude, you will never have enough, ever. You will forever be ungrateful no matter how rich you are, because make no mistake about it, you are incredibly rich if you live in the Western world. You are one of the richest people in the world, and you have everything that you need to be happy. But if you don't have gratitude, you will never be happy. You will never see what you have. And as I said before, you could be living on the streets, but be the happiest man in the world if you have gratitude for the things that you do have. Even though you live on the streets, you do have your legs, you do have your health, you have your eyes, you have your mental sanity. And those are just a few things. There are probably many more joys of life that you could experience even if you're living on the streets. So with that has been the message that I was trying to bring to you today. Again, let me know what you think in the comments, if you think anything at all. I would be really surprised if somebody actually commented on this video. Like I don't think anyone is ever going, maybe not ever, but at least for a few months now, nobody is even going to watch this video because nobody's going to know about it. But, well, yeah, I don't know. I'm just rambling now. I hope you benefit from this in some way, and I will talk to you in the next recording.